What up, guys? Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm your boy, the five-time champ Booker T, here with my man Brad Gilmore. And hey, man, like I said, we're gonna continue to bring it to you each and every week. I'm talking about every week. We're gonna give you something right now. It's a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on out there. You know, UFC is definitely has gotten thrown a loop. WrestleMania is getting ready to kick off, even though it's already kicked off. You know what I'm saying? And finished up in a lot of ways. And we definitely we got to talk about it. Bradley, how you holding up, man? How you holding up?
Hey, I'm good. I've been here in quarantine like everybody else, just binging on as many Netflix shows as possible, watching old WrestleManias. Actually, I went back and watched a couple old WrestleManias last night after Backstage went off the air. So, I'm just trying to fill the time right now. I feel like that's what most people are doing. I'm just worried, like, what happens if Netflix goes down? Then the world will really come to an end.
You know what I mean? I've been YouTubing and catching up with a lot of my A&E shows. You know, I'm huge off into this one show called See No Evil. Have you ever checked that out?
I haven't. What's that about?
Oh, man, you got to check this show out, man. It's called See No Evil. I mean, you know me, I'm always looking for something crime-oriented. Former criminal myself. So it's about, someone get murdered, of course, someone get killed. And the way they capture the killer is all on videotape. So they'll have one video, it'll link to another video, and then it'll link to another one. They end up bringing his ass in the interrogation. And next thing you know, he's off to the penitentiary. It's some stuff like that, man. So it's an awesome show, but it's all shown through video. And it's just, the video now, man, is unbelievable. Seriously.
We have some people in the chat right now asking if that was the Kane movie, See No Evil, that you were watching. No, you don't watch the movie. You don't watch wrestler movies.
I don't watch wrestlers, man. Watch wrestlers movies, man. It's just one of my things. I don't know why, but maybe because I don't have one.
Were you never asked to do a WWE movie? Was there never an opportunity for you to come in and do WWE?
There was some talk around Charmel and I doing some stuff and during my King Booker reign. It didn't come to fruition. And no sweat or anything like that. It might be a blessing in disguise. My thing is, I've been in front of the camera for almost 30 years now. I've been in front of the camera, and I love being behind the scenes, man. I give praise to The Rock, for being able to be out there in Hollywood, Dave Bautista, those guys being able to be out there in Hollywood. But I'm gonna tell you, it's so hard, man, to actually be able to pull that off. For me, just doing Ready to Rumble for that 21 days, kind of like was the show Scared Straight. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I've had my feel, and I don't think I need any more of this, man. But it's a grind. It's a grueling grind being on the set for days and months and years in certain aspects. Yeah.
Do you remember the movie with Martin Lawrence? It was called, I think it was called Black Knight. Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
Where he goes back in time?
Yeah,
it did suck. It did suck. But I could see like a King Booker style movie like that, where you come to the show, you're doing a spot in the ring or something, hit your head, and then you wake up and you're actually the king in medieval times, and you're you know what I mean? Like I could see that being like the premise of a really good King Booker comedy.
You know what, man? I always wanted to be in The Last Dragon, man. I always wanted to be the Shogun of Harlem. That movie was fit for me, and I heard they was going to be doing a remake a couple of years back, and I think I heard Samuel Jackson was going to be the lead. And I was like, man, what are they thinking? I know Samuel Jackson, he's a big star. He's an A-lister. But if you want somebody that's going to play the role and fill the role perfectly, you might want to call King Booker for a role like that, because I can actually do karate, kung fu, crazy, whatever you want. I'll be able to pull it off.
Well, we're streaming live on Twitter and on Reality Wrestling's YouTube channel. So everyone watching live, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, and if you have a question throughout this whole broadcast, just hit us up in the comments, and we'll get to your question, because there's been a lot going on in the world. I mean, as much as the virus has got all these things canceled, it seems that there's still no shortage of news in the world of pro wrestling or the UFC. I don't know where we should start. Should we start with Jon Jones? Should we start with Khabib? Should we talk WrestleMania, Roman? Where do you want to start with it?
Nah, man, let's talk a little wrestling, man, because right now, a lot of these guys, man, they're in certain situations right now. I know about, the downside and all of that. You get paid a downside, and then if you make that, you know what I mean, ain't no money coming in, your paycheck stop. So a lot of these guys, you see them, man, they're big time superstars, but you see guys like in the situation, say for instance, the Revival. Those guys was offered a huge contract, and they turned it down. And now no one knew this coronavirus was going to hit. No one knew the government was going to shut everything down. They say 70% of restaurants will never ever come back after this situation.
Wow.
So I can understand, how they're feeling right now, because from what I was reading, that these guys, man, they're not getting any money in right now. And the thing is, just say, for instance, if WWE was to go ahead and get these guys to release, AEW can't pay these guys a whole lot of money right now at this specific time. It's really about, what do you think about that situation more than anything, as far as the money trail?
It's one of those things to where I see it from both sides. Obviously, if you're an employee, you want to continue to get paid. That's what everyone wants to do. They want to make sure they're making their money. But with so many businesses being out, and even WWE, they're still trying to go on as much as they can, but it's still on a limited basis, right? I mean, there's not all the talent's not there in Florida or not in Orlando or not in driving distance. Some are uncomfortable to fly. So you can't just go pay people to sit home if you've already met their guaranteed contract. But at the same time, if you're the wrestler, you're saying, well, it's not that I don't want to wrestle. It's just that I can't. I can't wrestle right now. I mean, due to either a travel ban or borders closed. I mean, we're here in Texas. You can't even get into Louisiana from Texas right now. I mean, there's borders being shut down everywhere. So I understand both sides. That's why, I'm hoping, I don't know I was reading something that this virus bill actually, for the first time, independent contractors can apply for unemployment. Now, I don't know how much that helps somebody who's making high six figures or seven figures. I don't know if you're going to be getting that much in unemployment. $600 is a definite difference. But obviously it helps. But I think everyone's just in a tough position, from Tony Khan to Vince McMahon to, us here at Reality of Wrestling, not being able to have shows now for the last 2 months. I mean, I think that
ESPN as well.
Yeah, being off of ESPN radio. I mean, we're here streaming live, obviously, but it's a difficult position to be a business owner and an employee at this time.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling it as well. I mean, Reality of Wrestling, we shut down all operations, no shows. We're just trying to figure out how we can, create content. I did on Taco Tuesday last night. Hopefully you guys like tacos, and the tacos were good too, man. The tacos was good.
They look good.
The recipe.
Although I saw some comments, people say, they're beef taco people. So what do they do with the beef taco? You didn't do the beef taco.
Oh man, that's next. That's next. You don't want to give them everything, the first out. You know what I mean? You got to give them a couple of swings at the bat. You know what I'm saying? So the beef tacos, the beef brisket tacos, okay? Not just beef tacos, but the beef brisket tacos, maybe the braised rib beef tacos. You feel me? So I got all kind of dishes, man. And trust me, they're gonna be coming to you here over the next few weeks. But yeah, man, the independent world is pretty much shut down. And all those guys who were, on the independent scene, they were stars and they were making money. They were, we've got to the point now to where on the independent scene, guys could actually make a living. So now with the independent world shut down, a lot of those guys are hurting, man, and they're hurting really, really bad. And I appreciate the GoFundMe account that some of the guys opened for the independent wrestlers to try to keep these guys afloat. I definitely got to drop something in the hat because it's real. It's definitely real. And I can only imagine if I was one of those young guys in that situation, me being a single parent, coming up in the wrestling game when I first got in and, holding down a job, 6 days a week, 7 in the morning to 7 at night. And I can only imagine, boom, that job shut down. And then, my little wrestling, a little bit of dollars that I was making from the wrestling, that shut down. I can only imagine where I would be at. So big ups to everyone out there trying to, help out the independent world. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was going to say earlier is, these big companies, obviously they're going to hurt. I mean, even all these big entertainment companies, every movie studio in the world has pushed back their movies for the, up until next year. Disney World, Disneyland is shut down. All the big entertainment companies, of course, are hurting, but they're also billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar companies. It's the little guy, like the Reality of Wrestlings of the world that are really getting impacted like this. And think about all the restaurants. That's what I was trying to think about, man. I mean, I drove from here to the post office earlier today, and just to see nothing open is it's still a weird sight to behold.
You know what? No doubt. And I think about it every day. This thing it's only been 2 weeks. It seems like it's been 3 months.
Yeah.
Does it feel that way to you?
I mean, it feels like it's been a long time.
It feels like it's been a long time, and it's only been a couple of weeks. And we've had thousands of people die from this coronavirus. One of my good friends, Termite Watkins, he's in the hospital right now fighting for his life on ventilator, and his liver, not responding properly, his kidneys not working properly. This is a monster. This is a monster. This thing is real as it possibly can be. This is not a hoax or anything like that. I just sent out a message to a kid named Tatum just last night. He's in the hospital right now. He's 14 years old, and he's in the hospital in intensive care fighting, this fight with this coronavirus. So, guys, this thing ain't got no age number on it. It ain't got no race on it or anything. It does not discriminate. So, this social distancing is serious. It's real as it possible. I've been trying to stay in the house as much as I possibly can. My wife been getting out, doing the shopping and stuff like that. And, she been literally like hazmat, you know what I mean? Gloves, masks, everything. I'm talking about when she, come in, the clothes that she had on, she burned them, you know what I mean? It's, that's Louisiana stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it's real, man. It's real. And I'm taking it very serious. And I hope everybody out there is taking it just as serious as I am.
No, absolutely. And I guess that brings us to this. I mean, one guy who's taking it real seriously, I saw Triple H earlier today on ESPN discussing it. But one guy who obviously is taking it seriously is Roman Reigns. We heard last week, I think it was last Thursday, Ryan Satin from Pro Wrestling Sheet kind of broke the news that Roman Reigns would not be participating. Roman went on to confirm that on his own Instagram. Triple H further confirmed it today on ESPN, saying, he's not going to exactly reveal what happened, but say, tune in to WrestleMania and you'll see what happens. So obviously we know WrestleMania has been taped. Everyone's confirmed that it's been taped. But with Roman Reigns being out, you and I were big on this Goldberg versus Roman Reigns potential matchup. Now we're not going to see that. There's all kinds of rumors. I don't want to get into who Goldberg's going to be facing exactly. But what do you think about Reigns being out of WrestleMania 36 after being a guy who's headlined the last 5 of them?
Hey man, I said you read the fine print, right? In all wrestling shows, you do read it, don't you?
Card subject to change.
That is, you know what I'm saying. So that's all this is right here. Roman Reigns made a decision, man, and I'm sure it perhaps was one of his. I wouldn't say it's the toughest decision in his life or anything like that, but I'm sure it was a tough one to say, hey man, I'm gonna have to pull out of WrestleMania. Just one reason, it's a huge payday. It's a huge check. And for him to say, man, I gotta think about my family more than any amounts of monies is very, very important. And I commend him for it, man. I really do, because this coronavirus thing is serious. What Roman Reigns has been going through his whole life is very, very serious as well. And to be able to say, man, I'm gonna take a pass on this one. Me personally, I respect Roman, for doing that because he's thinking about his kids, man. He's thinking about his kids growing up without a dad, if in case something was to, anything can happen, and we know that. Especially with something like this going on, and for him to take a step back, like I said, I know it was a huge decision for him to make, but I really, honestly, truly think it was the right decision for Roman to make.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault him. And I think that he was trying to stick it out as long as he possibly could, right? I mean, he was there doing all the promos. He was at the PC. He did the contract signing with Goldberg. I think he was trying to make sure that he could get this done. But with this whole virus, man, it changed by the day. By the day, everything changes. And I think that with Roman, he saw that the writing on the wall was this thing isn't dying down, it's ramping up. And just with his past medical conditions and not even that, above that, his family, like you said, his family, he's got to not just think about himself, he's got to think about his family. And we know his family, his Samoan family, they're real tight. So a lot of times they'll be around each other. You got some of the elder statesmen in Alpha, Sika, his father, so you don't want to get anybody sick who's of an advanced age. You don't want to get yourself sick who you've been, compromised before. It's weird, but I have this question for you. You're not only are you Booker, you are a Booker. You've booked reality wrestling for several years. If something like this were to occur, I remember when we had the House of Horrors match and you laid out your idea of how you would have done it. If you're going into WrestleMania, you think you got one main event, and in like a 24-hour notice, you find out, okay, I don't have that main event. How would you, storyline wise? I mean, is there any ideas that you would have of how you would go about the situation?
I mean, normally, yes, but in a situation like this is a little different. This is WrestleMania. It doesn't get any bigger than this right here. And the thing is, the fans are going to be expecting no less. They're going to be expecting that ultimate thrill ride, like they always do each and every year. Now, for me, it would kind of like be easy because me. I always rely on, what's old is new again. So, I'll go find, one of these old guys, that could come in on a moment's notice that still got star power enough to where when they walk out of that curtain, they go, wow, you know what I mean? This is actually finna happen. This is the ultimate dream match, and that's why I always, say, man, I need guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin to stick around as long as they possibly can. I need guys like The Undertaker, like Goldberg, you know what I mean, to be like Brock Lesnar. I need these guys to stick around as long as they possibly can. I need these guys to be able to, know that, hey, man, on a moment's notice, just like a quarterback, go down and you got some guy that just retired. He's sitting on the sofa. But last year, before he retired, he was putting up numbers. Hey, let's call him, offer him a 1-year deal, put some money in his pocket, and we finna create pandemonium just one more time. So for me, that's what I would do. I would rely on the Ultimate Warriors of the world, the Bret Harts of the world. And that's, we talk about these part-timers, but this is when we need those guys with that ultimate mega star power, like all those names. Oh yeah, Booker T, him too.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's hard to figure out, exactly how you'd go about it. That's why my personal feelings about WrestleMania this year have wavered, right? At first, I'm like, cancel it, just push it back. But then you don't know how long this thing's going to last for. So it's like, well, if you had the ability to do it, even in front of nobody, okay, let's see what you have. Let's see the creativity. And then guys start dropping out. You hear this guy might be sick or Roman's this, that, the other. And then you're like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But now that it's taped and we're going to have it Saturday and Sunday, I'm looking forward to seeing just what's going to happen. How are they going to pull this off? And I heard Triple H talking earlier, and he said that they've done things with this WrestleMania and with these, confines, if you will, that's made them push the envelope creatively. And he said that it actually might change the way that they do business forevermore. Now, I know that Triple H is a promoter. I know he's selling WrestleMania, but it did get me hyped to say, I wonder what he means by that. And he talked about something that you and I even discussed about coming at it theatrically. He said, we're more like the Rocky movie than we are like boxing. And that was a quote that Triple H said. And I said, wow, what a great way to look at it. Is we have the opportunity in our sport to make it cinematic, to make it feel like a movie and not just like a regular sport. So I am looking forward to seeing it. And what do you think about that? We're more like the Rocky movie than boxing itself.
We are, no doubt, no doubt. That's why I said this is a moment, man. This is a moment that, these guys could actually be able to go out here and really tap into their creativeness. I look at guys like Edge. He's perfect for this moment. You know what I mean? Because he's a guy who not only loved the wrestling business, but as soon as he got out the wrestling business, he went right into acting and trying to, see exactly how far he can push his own self as far as his entertainment level goes. So yeah, I like the analogy. It is Rocky. It is Shakespeare. It is Romeo and Juliet. And now these guys have been able to go out there, just say, for instance, the Edge promo just this week. It seemed like these guys have said, "Hey, man," talked to all the writers and said, "Hey, man, we're gonna be in this thing for a while. Why don't you let us be creative? You know what I mean? Don't write nothing for us, and just let us go out here and talk about something, and let us feel what we're thinking about." And it actually looks that way to me. When I watched the Undertaker go out and cut a promo, that was as real as I've ever seen the Undertaker. Almost, it was just a. I said it wasn't a dead man. That wasn't the Undertaker. That was just a man. You know what I'm saying? So I like, what they're doing with this time that we have right now. And there again, hopefully those young guys in the locker room can pick up on little bitty things and say, "Oh man, I got that. Oh, I got this." That's the way you learn. So we'll see.
Yeah, you make a good point too about Monday Night Raw, and I know y'all talked about it on Backstage. But what do you expect to see from Edge and Randy Orton? I saw some people say that it actually might benefit them more that there is no audience there. These two guys might actually be able to tell a story. Now it's the last man standing match. It's already in the can, we know. But what do you expect to see? Because we're seeing some people here on Twitter. On our Twitter here, Charcoal Pepper 1 says, "I hope Randy and Edge happens. Best promos in a while." We know that the match is going to go down, but I agree. These promos have been crazy from Edge and Randy. What do you expect to see in that match at WrestleMania?
I said that was the match that I picked that could go out there and in this environment, like I said, with no fans in the audience, can go out there and pull it off better than anybody on the card. Just because Randy, man, he just turned 40. Randy just turned 40. He's at that age now in the world.
Today's his birthday, yeah.
Happy birthday, Randy Orton. When you get to that age right there, it's like, man, how did I not know all of this already? Man, I wish, I had more time. You know what I mean? Because now you're at that point to where it's a no-brainer. You go out there and you don't even have to think to actually be able to do it. And that's where Randy is right now. He's definitely a guy who has been a student of the game, and now he's a pure ring general. And now, to be able to go out and dance with Edge, a guy who, he's got history with Edge. These guys know each other very, very well as respect each other a whole lot. And now they're going to get a chance to go out and, create magic for the world in front of an empty arena, mano a mano, you against me. And now it's going to be, a fight that like we got to create like we never have before, just because of the circumstances that we're in. We're really going to get a chance to see Shakespeare at his finest, I think, between those two guys.
With Randy Orton, he's turned 40 today. Today's his 40th birthday, which is crazy to think about all the things that he's accomplished in his career before the age of 40. You said, I think recently when on Backstage, when y'all breaking down the King Booker Rey Mysterio match, that you just started getting good at 40. That's when you were really starting to hit your prime in your 40s, is when you were doing the best work that you've ever had. And to think about Randy being 40 now, Do you think that's possible, that Randy's got another gear in him, that we can actually see better Randy Orton?
No, that's the thing. Randy's in his peak right now. He's just the prime Randy Orton. It's the best perhaps you're going to see Randy. I don't think it's going to get any better than this. It's not going to get any worse than this, but I don't think it's going to get any better than this, because Randy's at that point now where he's comfortable with walking out of that curtain like I've never seen him walk out of that curtain before. But there again, just like I said, he's at 40 now. And the thing, he's questioning himself right now, wondering, man, I don't have that much time left. I wish I had more time. That's what Randy is right now. And that's the case, with most of us. We finally get to that point, and then we finally figure it out, and then it's almost time to hang it up. But that's the name of the game. And but Randy Orton, I don't think anyone's doing better work than Randy Orton is doing right now. Randy Orton, right now, he's a money-making machine as far as the fans wanting to see more of Randy Orton. And I wish we would have seen this Randy a long time ago, but the thing is, it just don't happen that way. It took this long for Randy to finally find himself.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like you said. I mean, I think that you told a story before of you and Undertaker after a show one time. We're sitting around, and you said to him something to the effect. I mean, obviously you know better than I, but I think you said something to the effect of, "Man, why did it take us so long to figure this out?
Yeah,
It
man.
seems so simple now."
In Germany, actually, drinking a whole round of shots of Jack. You know what I mean? Taker just ordered a round of Jack Daniels for the boys, and we just sitting there chopping it up right after we did. Had court over there. Took Melina to court, and we was talking about that in the bar that night. Man, we was wondering, why did it take us this long to actually learn this craft, and that's just the way it is. It takes that long to actually be able to take that knowledge and process it, and be able to put it in compartmentalize it and be able to use it when you want to use it. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to actually be able to go out there and perform and work at that level, that way.
Again, with Randy being 40 today, happy birthday, Randy Orton. What's the first thing you think about, like a story that comes to mind of Randy Orton? Because you were there right when he came in. I think that he started in OVW. He was a part of that legendary class, which was him, Cena, Batista, Shelton, Brock, and Sharmell. That was the class back in the day. So you've seen Randy through his entire career. What's a story that comes to mind when you think about Randy Orton?
Yeah, Randy's always been a hothead, man. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of hothead stories with Randy. Randy don't like a lot of people. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of those kind of stories. But it was just working with Randy, one of his first matches, and giving him that knowledge to where he, had to put his back against the wall and had to process things, the way, I would say us old school guys, went out and did it, which was, hey man, you got to fly by the seat of your pants sometime in order to really create some magic. Sometimes you got to make a mistake in order to find, perhaps your signature. That's just the way it is sometimes. And it put Randy in a position where he had no spots in his head and had to go out and work with me, and then come back and him say, man, is it that easy? And I go, it's supposed to be every night. And that's my lesson, to Randy. And hopefully he learned that lesson well. And now he's in that same position to be able to, pay it forward and teach these young guys exactly what it means to go out there again and be a ring general.
I've heard people say that Randy Orton was one of those guys who, when you worked with him, I mean, obviously you kind of wanted to make him sweat a little bit there before you all walked out. But when you work with him, it just seemed like he was one of those guys that was like, yeah, the business is in his blood. Like he's just a natural at this. He gets it better than most people do in a short amount of time. Would you agree with that? Did he seem to like take to it like a duck to water when you got Cowboy Bob as your dad and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, he's a natural at it. I mean, his dad was really, really uncanny as far
and
as
underrated. I think Cowboy Bob is underrated.
Well,
if you go back and watch him as a heel, he was so good.
Well, Cowboy Bob Orton, he's kind of like, double A Ornance, You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that he got it. He knew he could go out and perform at a very high level. And the thing is, everybody on the card knew he could go out and perform at a very high level, and more than likely better than everybody in the locker room. So for Randy to actually pick it up, it wasn't something that was I was surprised or anything like that. Getting in the ring and just watching Randy for the first time walk out of the curtain, you go, wow, man, this he's got something. You know what I mean? He's got it. And there again, it's the smallest little bitty things that I always thought that Randy Orton had from the beginning. And now he's just perfected it to the point to where Randy Orton, he's become one of the best in the business.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree. I'm looking forward to that match a lot. What's one match at WrestleMania that you're looking forward to the most? Is it the Boneyard match with Undertaker and AJ? Is it the Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena and Bray Wyatt?
It's not, man. It's not any of the matches. I'm not looking at WrestleMania this way. Like most of the fans. Most of the fans, I'm sure they're thinking, man, I want to see this match. I want to see that match. For me, I want to see WWE go out and pull this thing off. More important than anything, I want to see WWE go out and create a show out of nothing, and the fans go, "Wow, that was really, really awesome." That's what I want to be talking about at the end of the day. It's not going to be the matches or anything like that. It's not going to be Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. It's not going to be that. Right. It may be from a perspective to where man, those girls, they really went hard. Because my thing is, people have been asking me about Becky. I said, man, I'm on the fence. She's going to have to prove it to me. Go out and prove me wrong. Make me a liar. You know what I mean? And I want to see that. And, because I want to push, Shayna, to her limit. I want her to think, man, Booker T, man, he doesn't trust me. So let me go out here and shock and amaze him. That's what this thing is really going to come down to at the end of the day. That's what the internet is going to be talking about if WWE was able to pull this thing off from a promoter, from a booker perspective. That's what I'm waiting to find out.
Yeah, I like that. You've put it out there recently of just questioning about hey, there's a lot of talent on the roster, who are the stars here. And in the women's division, I think that Becky has been given that mantle. Charlotte's been given that mantle of y'all are the stars of this division. And I think that they both have really big things to prove to themselves because they're both working with essentially two NXT talent. Sure, Shayna's been on the main roster here for a minute, for maybe 6 weeks or so. And Rhea Ripley has been very impressive from what we've seen from her, but they're both going out there as the stars, quote unquote, of the women's divisions and trying to see if I can take these two NXT talent, independently with no audience on the biggest stage the company has and see if we can make something happen with them. I think that you're right. That is something to really look at. I heard a buzz over there. You good over there?
Yeah, I was wondering what that was too, man. I was like, what is that? I was like, I thought it was a bomb or something that dropped or something. Did that last time. I was like, I checked my air conditioner or something. I don't know what it is.
But I was thinking about this though, about WrestleMania. The NBA season, of course, was cut short. We don't know if they're coming back or not to play the rest of the season. At this point, I'm thinking that it's probably pretty unlikely that we'll see the NBA back this season to finish it out. But if it were to end right here, Vince Carter, a guy who's put in 22 years, I think 23 years of service in the NBA, a guy who's been playing that long, had to have his career cut short, in his final year. He was planning on retiring. Season gets cut short. His match that he didn't plan on being his last match or his last game might be his last game. I go that to say now with The Undertaker. Every year that passes by, we say, is this it for The Undertaker? A couple of times he's pretty much said, the time where he lost to Roman at WrestleMania, he takes the hat off, he takes the glove off, he takes the coat off, puts it in the ring, leaves it laying, which is typically the sign of I'm done, right? But
the show is over.
The show's over, pal.
Go to hell home.
Time to leave. But I'm thinking it's possible because you and Undertaker, I think, are the same age. He's a little bit younger than you, maybe by a couple months, but not by a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Or maybe older than you, one of the ways. But y'all around the same age. So it's conceivable to say that he has very few matches ahead of him. He has very few ahead of him. You know, he's got a lot behind him, very few ahead of him.
Yeah.
It's possible that this is the Undertaker's last WrestleMania. It's possible. How do you think that is? If this is Undertaker's last WrestleMania, wouldn't it feel weird without it being in front of the crowd? Or do you think that him and Alan Jones, as he called him on Monday, AJ Styles, could go out there and in a boneyard match with no crowd and put together a performance that would be worthy, if this were to be, I'm not saying it's going to be his last match, but it could be his last WrestleMania, would be worthy of Taker's last WrestleMania appearance?
First, we got to find out what the boneyard match is.
I have no idea.
Okay, I don't know what the boneyard match is.
It reminds me of, do you remember back in WCW, Vampiro versus the Kiss Demon? They had a graveyard match.
I do remember that. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be a graveyard match. I don't know, but that's what the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I think Chris Canyon was Kiss Demon. I think they had a guy who was playing the Kiss Demon. He lasted about a couple of years in the screws. That's another story. Yeah, I was just thinking about 10 minutes. Lots of crazy stuff was going on, baby. But yeah, man. I mean, if Taker was to hang it up after this WrestleMania, it might feel a little awkward. It might feel a little weird. But you know, I could actually see Taker trying to make the transition, man, as far as into life and just becoming, you know, the guy and the man. It's crazy, but the Undertaker, you know, for years, man, he's come out and he's shocked him, and it seemed like the Undertaker, it seemed like Mark has been out there forever. It seemed like this character has been in the wrestling business. I'm talking about since I was a little kid. But this is a character that started, you know, when I started. This is a character that's been around, you know, for the last 20 years. But it seemed like this character is something that's going to go on forever. And that's what wrestling is, man. We do live forever in a certain way. And the Undertaker, even if he was to retire, every WrestleMania, you're gonna see some form, a little touch of the Undertaker in some way, shape, form, or fashion. If he just put on the jacket and just walk out and make the Undertaker is going to be a staple in the WWE for forevermore. Will the Undertaker retire? I'm not going to say this is his last match or anything like that. It may be, but I know me right now at 55. If they was to call me and say, "Hey, look, we got to check WrestleMania numbers on it," I'm showing up. Okay, no. I don't care how sore the knees are, you know, I don't care how, you know, bad the hips are, you know, I will figure out a way to get at least one spinneroonie in and one scissor kick. And trust me, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
but trust me, it would have been well worth every dollar of that time. Trust me. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to ask you more about the Undertaker, but I want to give a shout out to a couple people in the chat. I want to shout out to HBK_Malik watching live from Saudi Arabia right now. Also want to go over to Jason L watching live in Ireland right now. So we're worldwide right now, BT. Here live on YouTube and on Twitter, of course. Now we've been talking about these promos in Monday Night Raw and how great they were. Undertaker, you got a name drop from the Undertaker earlier this week in his Monday Night Raw promo, of course, talking about why AJ Styles didn't come to the WWE, why he wanted to stay in TNA. He was afraid of the Rocks, the Stone Colds, the Undertakers, the Booker T's of the world. Using his real name, he's using Alan Jones. AJ's been talking about Mark Calloway on TV, talking about your wife, Michelle McCool, is the reason you're in the shape that you're in. She keeps trotting you out there. Undertaker even said, and AJRX brought it up, the Undertaker brought up the Faith Breaker, which was Michelle McCool's version of the Styles Clash, saying that he goes, Undertaker goes, she actually got it over in the promo. So using some behind the scenes lingo, using real names, talking about real life, showing pictures of the Undertaker on Instagram, hanging out with tigers like he's Tiger King or what have you. I don't
yeah.
know what's going on, but what do you think? Do you think that this is making it feel more real, or is this a no? Would you not go this far? Would you not say, hey man, let's not bring the wife, my wife's not on TV, let's not bring the wife into it, let's not use real names here, let's just stick to the script here? Because a lot of people thought with Undertaker, we had, and there we go, Philip says it right here, the American Badass is back. That's what it felt like on Monday, you know, and he said that I'll make you famous.
Yeah,
AJ Styles. So what did you think?
You know what, man? With this time, like I say, doing the shows the way they're doing them right now, AJ using real names, Taker using real names, making it have a real feel to it is very, very important, especially going into this match. Us not knowing what kind of match is this actually going to be. All we know is what we want. You know, at the end of the day, we want a good match. We want something good. We want to see some good entertainment. We want to be entertained no matter what this Boneyard match is. How they're going to pull it off, I do not know, but it's definitely given intrigue. It's definitely made me say, man, I got to check this out. I got to see what it is. You know what I mean? Firefly Funhouse. We've seen that before. We've never seen the Boneyard match. So we got to see exactly where the WWE is going to take us. Where in our minds are they really going to take us with a match like this? I remember when I had my angle with the Undertaker, and I remember going out to this grave site at the cemetery late at night. It was cold. We had a whole crew out there, you know, doing stuff. You know, the Undertaker, his hand come up out of the dirt and whatnot, and I just remember that and how much planning, how much time went into creating something between me and the Undertaker back then. So I can only imagine what they're going to do now in 2020 with the magic of lighting and whatnot. With AJ Styles, you know, in a match like this, it's going to be crazy. But at the end of the day, we want to say, man, that was awesome. You remember when they did the Bray Wyatt thing and he did the hologram deal?
Yeah, in the Hell in a Cell, I think, or something like that.
Remember that? And you remember how long people was talking about that? And people was like, man, that was so awesome. To be able to have the ability to be able to do something like that at a time like this, I really think the people can really buy into it and go, wow, this was really, really cool.
That's the thing about this WrestleMania. I keep going back to this is what I'm excited about, just to see like what they're going to be able to pull off. And will I say at the end of the show, wow, that was a good show. Not wow, that was good for what they could do. Man, that was really good. That was a different WrestleMania, but it was definitely worthy of the title. That's what I'm wondering.
Bad news though for guys like The Miz who quarantined. Guys like
I heard he's sick.
Guys like Rey Mysterio. Mm-hmm. Another guy that's stuck. He can't do it.
Andrade got an injury, but he's out of WrestleMania too.
He's out of WrestleMania. And that's the thing right there, man. These guys have worked their butts off all year to get to this point, man, to head into the biggest show of the year. And something like this, pretty much knock it out, as well as getting injured, set you back. This WrestleMania is going to be one to remember for a lifetime. 2020 WrestleMania is definitely going to be one to remember.
Well, we'll definitely be back next week to talk about the entire WrestleMania card. I know you're going to be talking about it on Backstage. And we encourage you to send in your questions. We have a few that I want to get to before we move gears into the MMA world. But to go back to some of these guys not being able to be on the show, I think that, again, it's just everyone's being cautious, and I think that's the right thing. It might suck that you're off of WrestleMania this year, but at least you're being cautious, and everyone's going to be safe, and we can all live to fight another day and see another WrestleMania. Hopefully, am I crazy? I think that there's a possibility that we could see another WrestleMania this year.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Because they still got to do Hall of Fame. They still got to do all the stuff that they were going to do this year. Because, I mean, if I'm like JBL and the Bellas and the British Bulldogs family and all that, I'm waiting to hear what's going to happen. And maybe they make SummerSlam a bigger show, but I think it's possible to do another WrestleMania.
To re-gear, you know what I mean, and get the fans up and ready for, something like that after this huge letdown. I just think it would be too much, too soon. and not enough time, more importantly than anything, to squeeze it in there with all the other big three. I just don't think, I think we're going to run out of time, more than anything. And then you say, well, let's just throw it in there. It's no real, after this 2 weeks, after these two shows, it's not going to be a real, I think the subliminal feel of WrestleMania will have been met, after the two biggest nights of the year. We'll find out.
Once again, WrestleMania too big for just one night. We got a question here, Book. I want you to answer it real quick. From B Star, do you think Umaga should and will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame someday?
Oh man, without a question, man. Umaga in his short time as Umaga, remember he did some tag team work there as well. But as Umaga, he made a splash bigger than most guys make in a 20-year career, honestly. People going to remember Umaga for many, many years to come. And just think about it. Like I say, he was only that character for a very, very short amount of time. But the splash that he made, the impact that he made on the business, I don't think it'll ever be duplicated from a way that he came out and brought it to the table. As well as Umaga, man. He was a good friend of mine. He was a really, really good friend of mine. I was at his funeral in Las Vegas, and that was one of the saddest days of my life, man, because this is a guy who used to show up at Reality Wrestling, with his gear in the car and, put me in, man. I want to be on the show. And I'm like, man, you got a contract with WWE. It's like, man, I'm working tonight, so I miss Umaga, and definitely he is a first ballot Hall of Fame. Appreciate you for asking that question. Right?
Yeah, appreciate it, B-Star. Once again, send in your questions in the chat. I saw one here. I'm trying to find it, but someone asked about something you and I talked about earlier of Kylie Rae. Kylie Rae being signed to TNA Wrestling. Your former student. I just want to give a shout out to Kylie Rae. Congrats on that, and I hope that it's going to be a good run for her.
No, man, I'm glad, man. Kylie Rae is back. On track, more importantly than anything, man. I gave, she was out for a minute. I gave her a call. I was like, hey, girl, you better get back in the saddle. What are you waiting? Your time is wasted. You know what I mean? And she got back on the horse, and now she's looking better than ever before. I was just watching some video clips of her just earlier today, and she had on the white boots. It reminded me of myself in a lot of ways. And she was out there doing it, like I know she could. And now, hopefully, this is just a springboard for her. Hopefully, this is just a stepping stone for her to make it to where I really know she wants to be, and that's at the top of the roster in the WWE one day. When she got in this thing, man, from the beginning, I knew she was going to be something special, and to now see her back in the ring doing what she loves to do is really, really awesome. Even watching my boy Gino down in MLW, take it over, man. Running with the big dogs, MJF and all those guys. So I'm like, I'm loving it, to be able to see the next generation make it, to that level to where I say, man, this is your dream now. I did it, I've had my dream. I got a chance to see it now. This is your time to be able to go out there and live it up and soak it up and be able to go around the world. And because it's a once in a lifetime dream, some people don't get a chance to leave their home state. And for someone like Kylie Rae to actually be able to be out there doing what she loves, guys like Gino, Ryan Davison doing what they love to do. I'm like a proud pop, and a big ups to Kylie Rae for getting back in there.
Here's another one real quick. B-Star, which one of your managers would win in a match? Queen Charmel or Sensational Sherry?
He's trying to get me an ass whooping.
He's trying to get you in trouble, and I'm trying to help him. Because you're right, what B-Star doesn't realize, you're quarantined right now.
I think it'll be a tie. It'll be a tie. Both of them, Sister Sherry, what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's a tie. It's a draw. Charmel, she had the match at WrestleMania with you and Boogie, right? I mean, she's wrestled before on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. That's pretty cool. Did you ever give her any advice? Because I remember you saying the Undertaker told you stop, take it in. Did you give her the same advice when she went out at WrestleMania 22 or whatever that was with Boogie Man and you?
No, I didn't. I just take the worms.
That's messed up, man. Or you're taking the worms, brother.
You're taking the worms tonight, baby. I'll take the finish. You took the worms.
Oh man. I want I think we should get to a little bit of the MMA. Of course, shout out Mega Movies. Taker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 is one of the best matches ever. Y'all watch that on backstage. I think that you agree with that one. What a great match. Somebody said right now, Charmel for show. Win that match. Shout out to that.
The Taker match was awesome, man. It was one of the best matches in the history of the business. It'll go down as one of the best WrestleMania matches, I think, of all times. Those guys went out there and really, really brought drama to what professional wrestling really is. And that's why I was saying, we was talking, Xavier and I was telling X, I was like, man, I'm not trying to dog out the young guys or anything. I'm not trying to put those guys down in any way. But when I watch Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, I say, I've never done anything like that. I've never had a match like that, myself. I've had a lot of great matches. But my acting is different than Shawn Michaels. My acting is different than The Undertaker. Denzel Washington, it's Brad Pitt. They're both great, but one's acting a little bit better. One guy could be a little bit more theatrical than the other guy. But both guys' bank accounts, heavy, man, they're heavy. You know what I mean? So that's what I think about when going out and doing something.
So I think we should talk MMA, but I want to ask you a question, Booker. Are you down to have a special guest pop in to talk some MMA with us?
Yeah, man, most definitely.
You down? Because I think that we have him here now. There he is. Gary, unmute. Hold up. I got you muted. There you go.
What up?
What up, dog?
How y'all doing, guys?
Man, we just digging in the scene with the gangster lead, man. Just trying to, make it through this pandemic era, man. Era that, most has never seen in a lifetime, man. And the way people are falling right now, man. Stay safe out there, man. Stay safe out there. But man, good to see you, man. Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Other than my wife having me around the house, becoming a handyman that I've never been. The other day she told me, hey, that bush needs a little bit of trimming off the top. So I said, you know what? I could do this. I started trimming it off the top, and it was like a bad haircut. I just kept going and kept going. By the time she came outside, the whole tree was gone. And that's where I'm at right now.
It's like, baby, that tree need to be trimmed. Well, you better call somebody.
I agree.
I think what's his name down the block does trees, right? He does trees, right? Let's go. Let's hit him up.
But it's good to see y'all for sure, though. How about y'all guys? What have y'all been doing now that no sports? I know Brad, big basketball guy, Book.
Everything.
What's going on? How do y'all feel about the Roughneck stuff? We haven't got to talk about any of this.
Nuts, man. It's nuts. Everything shut down, man. But we, my quarterback though, man. Our quarterback, Roughnecks, he got picked up, man. You know what I mean? So he got some money in his pocket. You know what I mean? So I'm liking that. But on the other hand, man. It's crazy times right now, man. We're just trying to make sure we do the right things to, get to the next phase, man. Because like I was just talking earlier, one of my buddies, he's in the hospital right now dealing with this thing, and as serious as it serious can be. I was talking to a guy earlier, man. He's like, man, this stuff ain't nothing. Man, it's just, this stuff is gonna go away. And I'm like, man, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? So I just appreciate, everybody that's doing the right thing out there to hopefully try to make this thing go away, because I'm gonna tell you, man, I'm 6'2", 248 pounds, and I'm scared. That's wrong with some great dig construction, but I'm scared, man. I'm scared of this stuff here, dog. This stuff is real. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I gotta say, it is the invisible enemy. You really do have to be aware and clean up and wash the hands. But we were talking about MMA, and you talk about people doing the right thing, staying inside. Our man Jon Jones, Book.
Come on, man. Jon Jones say, man, my daughter is dyslexic, and I've been hitting the head so many times, I don't remember nothing.
What did you think about? Did you watch Jerry? I'm sure you saw it too. Did you see the police footage, Jerry? Yeah.
It sounds like I have a friend that does that every weekend. You know what I mean? It just sounds like you're ordinary drunk, but to hear it from someone that is so praised upon, in the UFC world, the mixed martial arts, it hurts your feelings, right?
He did not look like a star, man. He did not look like a star. He looked like a drunk, just like you said, man. And it's sad to see someone like Jon Jones in that state, because it seemed like it was normal. It didn't seem like that was something that was out of the ordinary for him, getting drunk and being out in public. And the thing is, man, he may not think about it right now, but one day, I don't know if he got kids or not, and his kids got to see that kind of stuff. That's where it really starts to take effect. Just like me when my son, I think it was a couple of days ago, and he goes, "Dad, you've been to prison before, haven't you?" And I swear, man, I feel so a certain way knowing that my son knows that, but I know it's something that he got to know. But I so wish that it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? I'm serious. And for Jon Jones to put himself in that situation through what we're going on right now, and like I say, him being, whether he believe it or not, whether he want to face the fact or not, he is a role model to so many people. So many people look up to people like Jon Jones that's got, the nice car, you know what I mean? That's got the nice big house, people talking about him, and praising him. So many people, look up to someone like that. And for someone like him to have so much power to not know how to use it, it really is sad more than anything.
It's definitely awful, and a guy who I feel like has been given so many chances, and I know, Book, you're real big on second chances, and I am too, and I think that we've given Jon Jones more than second. We've given him thirds, fourths, and fifths chances, and a lot of times, even with the picogram stuff, it's like, we'll look by it. It's that's not a real thing, and he was just doing this. All right, remember the time he had the whole card canceled, and he's main event of UFC 200 that falls through because he tests hot, and then what's his excuse this time? He took male enhancement pills from a gas station. That's why it's just so many times we look. It's because he's so great at what he does. We look past it. And this one, an aggravated DWI, which means he blew, I think, at least twice the legal limit in New Mexico. He also had a discharged firearm in his backseat, driving with an open container, and no proof of insurance. That's not a good look. And that police cam footage, I will say this. I've never had to drop alcohol in my life, but that police officer was confusing the hell out of me. I didn't know what he was talking about. Start from Z and count back to Y. And
he was just messing with Judd, man. None of that stuff didn't make anything. It didn't make any sense. We was like, man, we got Jon Jones, and he goes, "Wait, who are you?" Like, he didn't know who Jon Jones were, So he's like, "Soon as I get to the station, we get this footage out on the internet."
I need to be famous.
Let me ask you something, Book. You always use the term, or I've heard you use it often whenever you tell about your story, and you say rock bottom. And once once you're there or in a cell, you feel a certain type of way, and maybe it helped you, realize, man, I got to snap out of this. What is the best, I guess, remedy for right now for Jon Bones Jones? Because I heard Daniel Cormier say not cutting him, because if you cut him, it could be even worse. It could be maybe the UFC is the only thing even making him somewhat stay afloat. And if he didn't have that, what happens? What do you think, man?
Man, it's a hard call, but the way I look at Jon Jones's career he's been great inside the ring. Outside of the ring, he's definitely has not been a poster boy or anything like that. One thing they always say, man, winning makes everything go away. Winning makes everything go away. As long as Jon Jones is winning, this little DWI, it will go away. Fans, they're still gonna praise Jon Jones, but the respect for Jon Jones that he once had, that respect has diminished immensely. People will not ever look at Jon Jones the way they would have looked at Jon Jones if he would have went through his career and really made a difference, not just in the ring, but out of the ring as well. Because I remember a guy told me when I first got in the wrestling business, he said, "Look, you gotta understand, you gotta be able to respect yourself before anybody else is gonna respect you. You gotta know how to be champion in the ring as well as out of the ring all the time." And that's one quality that I don't think Jon Jones have, and I don't think is a quality that he will ever have, and that's just Jon Jones.
I agree, and unfortunately, he finds himself in this position again. And he agreed to a plea deal today regarding his arrest. He is going to serve 96 consecutive hours in a county community custody program similar to house arrest. So he's going to be on house arrest, ankle monitor.
He's going to be quarantined anyway.
We're already quarantined.
Everybody, we ain't going nowhere anyway for the next 3 months.
And
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. Jon Jones continuously get a slap on the wrist. I mean, they move a whole pay-per-view for this guy from one state to another. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just because of his fault, something that he did, not something that somebody else did. And to pacify Jon Jones, to enable him to actually keep doing the stuff that he's doing, a lot of the fault is going to be on the UFC at the end of the day when Jon Jones' life implode. Not in the ring, but outside the ring. And a lot of the fault is going to be the UFC patting him on the wrist because, like you say, Jerry, they need a cash cow. They need that black card. No pun intended.
You're right. I mean, house arrest that's 4 days of house arrest, 96 hours, right? That's 4 days of house arrest. In addition to that, he has to complete 48 hours of community service, pay a $500 fine, and take place in a 90-day outpatient treatment program. I guess that's similar to rehab. This is third DWI. This is third one.
They put people in prison for that.
In Texas, you go to jail.
I mean, he could have.
And you can never drive again.
He could have killed someone. I mean, and God, thank God he didn't. You know what I mean? Thank God. This is his third DWI offense, and he hadn't killed anybody. And we know there's been some cocaine somewhere sprinkled along the way. You know what I mean? So this is the prime example of how to pretty much ruin someone's career by just pacifying them and letting them keep getting away with stuff over and over and over and over again.
What do we remember
go ahead,
about what are we going to remember about Jon Bones Jones? Is this outside of the ring such a big deal that it's going to overshadow ultimately what he is or what could have been? And also the last few fights we've seen him, he's been kind of iffy, right? So what is our overall image of him if it ended today? If we never saw him hit the octagon again, what is he?
The way they said it about George Foreman when he came into the fight with Muhammad Ali. All right. When George Foreman came into the ring that day in Africa, he had an entourage with him. I mean, it was a slew of people with George. And that fight, what it was, I mean, Muhammad Ali went out there and handled his business. And then the fight was over with. Even Dunn King came with George, and he wanted to leave with Muhammad. That's how you are abandoned, with one loss. I remember the commentator, Englishman, I can't remember his name, but I remember him saying, look at George there, he's leaving. It's a small crowd of people with him. No one mobs a beaten champion. And the same thing goes for Jon Jones. When he's beaten, when he's the guy that's on his back and all those skills has diminished, he will understand no one mobs a beaten champion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you said it there best, their book, but I think that it doesn't help his legacy, obviously. There's always these questions, but some guys have been able to, get past the adversities. I mean, think about Lawrence Taylor. At one time, Lawrence Taylor was a wild dude, man. He was always out there. He was in the news. Yeah. When we think about Lawrence Taylor now, we think about one of the greatest defensive, if not the greatest defensive player of all time. I think that, when you think about Tyson, I mean, Tyson's one of the greatest ever. He's had a lot of, transgressions, I should say. Tupac, a lot of the greats have had a lot of baggage that isn't directly involving their sport or their art, but we still regard them as one of the greatest of all time. So I think Jon's always going to have that by his name. People are always going to say, hey, man, Jon Jones, that was one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen. If only, and that's where the story's going to start. If only, if only. And I think that's what the conversation we're going to have. We'll always give him his props as being one of the greatest. There's always going to be that, but if only he would have done this. And I think that it doesn't help, too, recent talks of, man, he didn't really beat Thiago Santos. He didn't really beat Dominic Reyes. And now he's doing this. He's still drinking. He's not taking it seriously. There's just so many things that frustrate me about Jon Jones. I remember having a guy who was so talented. He was so good when back when we were writing and doing the music thing all the time. He was so good at it, but he didn't really apply himself because he was so good. He didn't think that he had to. Then we're all in the other room. We're writing. We're trying to get better at our craft. My guys doing the turntables, the beatbox. They're trying to figure it out. We're working real hard because we're not naturally gifted. This guy was naturally gifted, but he never took it seriously. And now he's off doing something else when he could have been one of these greatest of all time if he had just taken it a little bit more seriously. That's what I think of when I think of Jon Jones.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been. I wouldn't say he could have been. Jon Jones. He literally will go down as one of the greatest fighters that ever did it in the UFC. I really believe that. I mean, he was so unique coming into the game. As far as being a brother, being a black guy, don't too many black guys ascend to that position in the UFC the way Jon Jones has done it. No, not too many black guys have that skill and technique. As far as karate, jiu-jitsu, grappling, in their background to have been able to go out there and pull something off like that, other than Jon Jones. You compare Jon Jones to a guy like Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, he's going to be, remembered for, the excitement that he brought to the game and being a guy who changed the whole name of the game. And people are going to continuously say, man, how good could he have been, if he didn't have the transgressions? Or would he have been as good as he was without him as well?
Right, yeah.
So you look at those situations two totally different ways. At least I do. But Jon Jones, like I said, he'll go down as a great fighter. But Jon Jones definitely is not going to be one of those guys in the history books that you want to immediately turn the page and go to just because of the way he had walked that walk.
Let me ask you something and how this portrays to wrestling. Okay, Brad and I, we roll around with book, Vegas, wherever, and you've taught us, you give us lessons as far as, man, things that when you were in wrestling that you shouldn't do because it's looked down upon, or what certain guys were doing that
like running around with a bunch of white women.
Exactly, whatever the case may be. But so in this case with Jon Jones, now that the locker room might be looking down on him because I see Adesanya talking bad, and he's waiting on something to happen for Jon Jones because of their personal beef. What does that do going forward as far as coaching, or like you said, when does Dana White put a stop to this, or whatever the case is? You as a coach, someone that's been a teammate in the locker room, or Brad, someone that's been part of a wrestling, league, and saying, hey, what would we do in this shape? How would we help somebody out? What do we do here?
You want to help someone like Jon Jones, but there again, like you said earlier, Jerry, guy like that, he's got to hit rock bottom, because when you are that good, when you are that prolific, it's hard for anyone to tell you what to do and what not to do. Even just say, for instance, when Jon Jones is in the ring performing, when he's fighting, as good as his coaches are, what they do, it's hard for those guys to tell Jon Jones how to go out there and win. It's almost impossible. A guy like that literally have to. It's almost like an alcoholic. It's almost like someone trying to stop smoking cigarettes. They gotta want to do it on their own in order for them to actually, motivate themselves to actually be able to do it. Those guys are pretty much self-motivators. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anybody that can push Jon Jones in the gym harder than he can push himself. You know what I mean? So I just really, I could be wrong, but I just really feel like guys that's ascended to that level, that's gotten to that point, and they are self-made. It's hard to tell those guys when to stop. It's like that vortex that I've talked about. It's like that whirlwind. You know what I mean? Once you in it, you can't get out it until you stop. And Jon Jones right now, man, he's on a roller coaster, bro. He's on a roller coaster that literally the gear is broken, and it's just going round and round, man. It's getting faster and faster. And it's not going to stop until everything come crashing down. And I'd hate to see that for someone like Jon Jones. And there again, also, before you point there, Brad, you talk about guys, you know, like Adesanya, guys like DC, all these guys that Jon Jones has thrown shade on. Jon Jones, even coming back to the game, you know, winning is one thing, but being called a drunk in every interview is something totally different. You know what I mean? So definitely, he's not going to be able to throw shade on anyone when he come back to the game. He's just messing all of his promos up. Seriously,
You can't talk any smack.
No.
The only thing I want to add to it is, you know, y'all saying that Jon Jones has hit rock bottom, but my man AJRX says, no, not rock bottom. Jon Jones has hit bookend. That's what I just had to.
You're right about that. You're right about that. That's my bad.
Had to throw that one. Had to throw that one out there.
I wish I had a button to touch right now. Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, someone, Phil Broussard says, what about Antonio Brown? Do you think his off the field problems will ever overshadow his career now, especially with being a short time? I think that Antonio Brown is an interesting name to bring up when you talk about Jon Jones. Maybe is not as well. I mean, definitely self-destructive. Has got himself in problems with the law. Was trying to go make a run with Tom Brady over there in Tampa Bay until Bruce Arians said, "Oh hell no, we're not having that in my locker room." Would you say that's a fair comparison, book, that AB and Jon Jones kind of seem like these super talented guys who just can't get out of the way of themselves?
I do, but I think it's a different as far as the problems go. I think AB, I think his problem is mental. I really think something's wrong with him upstairs. You know, look at the haircuts, just the way he dressed. You know, I mean, something wrong with this dude. Seriously,
the man had like a blue mustache.
The brother needs help. He really does. You know what I mean? And I ain't trying to. You know, I want him to get help, but all of the money that this guy has blown and thrown away over the last, 365 days, the last calendar year, it's incredible. All over off the field antics, all off of, going out there and wanting to act a fool. You know what I mean? And that's the part I don't get. You know what I mean? When it comes to your money, when it comes to your livelihood, those things are serious. And normally you get one crack at at something like this. You get one crack at the apple to actually be able to, to make a huge dent, because those huge checks that's coming around the first time around, they normally don't come around like that ever again. So I just don't understand what these young guys be, thinking, more importantly than anything. And they're not the first, you know what I mean? Michael Irvin, you know what I mean? He was notorious for getting in trouble, you know what I mean? But one thing about Michael Irvin is people liked him, okay? If people like you, that's one thing. They're willing to, give you a check. I say it all the time, you can be great at what you do, and people don't like you, you won't stick around, but you could just be okay. And if people like you, you stick around forever. That's what Michael Irvin is, and that's what Antonio Brown isn't. So we'll see who makes it at the end of the day.
We definitely will. So a couple questions, and I want to get into this Khabib talk, but the real Abdullah wants to know, would you have ever considered getting into the UFC business, book?
Man, I never, as much as I love it, since literally the birth of the UFC, I've been watching it. I was a huge Horace Gracie fan, Chemo back in the day. Man, those guys, they drew me in. I was like, man, this is something awesome. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's awesome. I want to see more of it. I don't want to do it, but I want to see. But my thing is, I love watching the sport, but I just always, thought the sport did not pay properly for what those guys went out and gave to the sport. They left their blood, their sweat, their tears inside that octagon, that cage, and so many nights for guys not to be getting paid big money. I'm talking about long green ducats. I'm talking about 7-figure paydays, high 6-figure paydays. Every time one walk out and get into a situation like that, it shouldn't be done. And I even speak on that for these guys that do it today, that go out there and do that for, the amounts of money that they're doing it for. I think is definitely a disservice. And that's the one reason I wouldn't have did it. I always loved boxing. I always loved the art of pugilism. But boxing there again too, you got to be extraordinary talent. You got to be one of those guys that on a next level as far as boxing go. Boxing, the guys that normally make the money are guys that are, coming out of the Olympics, gold medal winners, guys getting signed to a big, Bob Arum contract, a PBC contract, that's what I would have wanted to do with boxing. But there again, it's a rough sport, man. Every time you walk inside that ring, it's a chance you're going to lose your life. And for me to start doing professional wrestling, I trained to box, actually. Thought I was going to be the next Muhammad Ali. Thought I was going to go out there and become the heavyweight champion of the world one day. And then professional wrestling, got, put in my hands before that. And I was like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? I got to get beat up. Are you kidding me? I can make the money. But now, oh, man, sign me up. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But MMA, I don't think I ever want to make that trick.
Speaking of boxing, real quick, we had another comment. AJRX says, yes, I saw Booker T in person at the Errol Spence versus Sean Porter fight in L.A. King Booker's muscles were trying to break through his expensive suit. Shout out to AJRX there. We had a super chat come in from Nicholas, Nicholas just wanted to say Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T. Not exactly sure what he wanted to say about it, but that's all he said. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T. I appreciate your super chat, Nicholas. I don't know if you've seen that book, but there's been a lot of memes of you and Steve Austin because of the crazes in the grocery stores right now. Everyone's saying quarantine shopping looking like, and then there's just y'all beating each other up. So it's always good. But what do you think, Book? 2 years ago today, April the 1st, 2018, we thought we were going to see Khabib versus Tony. 2 years ago to this day, we thought we were going to see it. That was the 4th time that this fight had been scheduled. Then the fight was scheduled for a 5th time. Dana White said, come hell or high water, we are going to get Khabib versus Tony no matter what this time. Then, coronavirus hits. We're thinking we're not going to get it. Dana White says, I assure you we're going to get it. But as soon as I heard Khabib Nurmagomedov went to Russia, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to happen. And today Khabib himself confirmed he will not be participating in UFC 249. Justin Gaethje has been the rumored replacement for Tony Ferguson. I just want to know, what do you think off top about this fight not going down for the 5th time? Is it the most cursed fight in UFC history?
Yeah, man, I think so. Ferguson, Khabib, it's just a fight that's just not meant to happen, I think. For it to have, been slated to happen this many times and then been canceled this many times due to so many different, and then this is a freak of nature. This is an act of, an ungodly act, of course, but this is an act of, out of everyone's control. No one can do anything about this. So I'd say, Khabib, I don't think he's running from anybody. I don't think he's running from a fight. I think he wants this fight more than anything. And I tell you, man, the more and more I think about this fight, man, the more and more one-sided I see this fight being for Khabib anyway. I think people are asking for something that, even if they got it, they're still not going to be that happy about what they get at the end of the day. I honestly believe that. I've been watching Tony Ferguson, just his style and Khabib's style, and I think he's tailor-made for a guy like Khabib, and I think that fight would not last very long at all once it happened. That's just my opinion. Of course, this is a cursed fight, but like I say, I think if the people got this fight, I still don't think that they're going to get what they think they was going to get.
What do you think, Jerry?
Now I'm a Khabib guy, so let me say that first. And I don't think he's running from anyone. So I've been listening, like to Ariel a little bit, and he comes out and he says that Ferguson tries to use the mentality of he's running because of maybe the way that the training camps were put down, maybe the way that Ferguson's known to be a loner. He's known to he likes to spar by himself. He likes to shadow box. They say he's insane with it. Khabib's a guy that likes to roll with the camp, likes to have hands-on people to get the wrestling down. And he says maybe he felt Khabib ran not from exactly him, but saying, man, I'm not prepared enough. I can get this pushed back. Do you think that at all plays into this? Do you think Khabib needed more time?
I don't think so, man. I think going to Russia shutting stuff down. I don't think Khabib is a guy that's looking to run from anybody inside of a ring, or anybody inside of an octagon, anybody on the street. This guy's he's the real deal, and I really think Tony Ferguson, Khabib. I think it'll be a good fight. I really do, but I really feel like Khabib Nurmagomedov, his style is perfect for someone like Tony Ferguson, who's just all over the place, who's looking to get taken down. People talk about Tony Ferguson ground skills. People talk about Tony Ferguson elbows, but I've never seen a guy get elbowed when someone's on their back. You know what I mean? And that's why I feel like Khabib would wind up with Tony Ferguson on his back, because I just don't think Tony Ferguson is going to be looking to defend that right there, just because he's a cardio guy. He's a guy that's been able to go out there and find himself in a position and always been able to get out of that position. But he's never been in there with a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov when he gets on your back. I watched that Dustin Poirier fight just a couple of days ago. And Dustin Poirier at one point, he said, man, I can't get this son of a bitch off me, man. I can't do it. And that right there, it let me know that that this is a different type of fighter, because you cannot tell me that Dustin Poirier hadn't drilled over and over and over and over again, putting himself in that position and trying to find his way out of it. And he found himself in that position with Khabib, and he couldn't find his way out of it. It's a different type of fight.
Hey, Brad, let me ask you something. What would your priority be right now if you were Ferguson, being in his shoes, knowing that he hasn't fought since late 2018, and then now people saying, like us, or a lot of people are saying, man, just push it back. I'd rather wait to get a full-on fight camp for both Khabib and Ferguson rather than him fighting somebody right now, but somebody that needs that check. What would your thoughts be?
That's what I was going to say is with Tony, of course he wants Khabib. And of course, Tony Ferguson has said for a long time he can beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. And of course, he's trying to bait him in by saying, hey, I think you're scared. You talk about sending location. I'll come to you, whatever. But with Tony, he's also got to think about this. Is there a lot more factors into this decision that he's going to have to make than there have ever been in Tony Ferguson's life? Because he does not know when the next fight's going to come, if a next fight's going to come after, if it's Justin Gaethje or whomever it is. I think if I'm Tony and UFC is still offering that same payday, they're still offering a check during these uncertain times. I'm an independent contractor. I have no fight promised to me tomorrow. I got to take this money, man. I got to make sure I can take care of myself and my family through the quarantine times. Now, if this weren't the situation, if we weren't going through the coronavirus, I'd say, hey, if I'm Tony, I'll wait until Ramadan. I'll fight this fool in the fall. I'll rough him up then if I'm that confident. But since we don't know, I think he's got to take this fight. Although I don't think taking a fight against Justin Gaethje on 2 weeks' notice is the greatest idea in the world. I think that Tony could probably fare pretty well with him. I don't know if you can prepare fully for somebody like that. Now, of course, Justin has to have the same disadvantage going into it, but still, that's a tough dude. But as far as if I'm Tony, I got to take the fight, book.
Well, you know what? If I'm Tony, I got to take the fight too. You know what I mean? Like you say, Tony right now, he's hurting for money. When a guy take off 6 months in the UFC, with the money that those guys are making, man, it's time to go back to work. Seriously, 6 months off, it's time to go back to work. That's the way that job line of work is. They're going to pay you enough to make sure you get your bills straight through the one half of the year. That next half of the year, you're going to have to train real hard and try to make it back up. And right now, Tony Ferguson, he's been out for a minute, so I can imagine his pocket is hurting really, really bad. And I don't see Tony Ferguson being one of these guys that's flamboyant and extravagant, and where you see him riding in a Lamborghini or anything like that. So Tony Ferguson, to this point, he still hadn't made a whole lot of money, especially not enough to where he could sit back and take it easy or anything like that, man. So, if I was Tony, I'd say, man, give me this fight. Let me go get this paper. Hopefully I get through it. Hopefully I'm not damaged to the point to where it throws anything else in jeopardy, like a future fight, like we all see.
Yeah, I just, they're about to do this documentary on ESPN. They're going to show I think it's called, is it called The Last Dance, Jerry? I think it's called The Last Dance, and it's about the Bulls run, their championship run in the 1990s. I can't wait till the 10-part documentary series about Khabib versus Tony, the fight that never was. This has got to be one of the most compelling dramas in MMA history. Dana White even tweeted something it was a gif of this girl trying to jump over a bench, and she ends up snapping her leg in half. He said, me trying to keep the Tony fight together. He knows it's been a challenge, and I just don't see why this has been one of those fights. I mean, even to the last time when they were right there, Book, and then Tony trips over a wire at the press conference.
Yeah.
Or, Khabib misses weight, or there's this and there's that. I mean, but this is the fight that now I think, and tell me if you agree with this, Jerry and Book, I think this is the fight that has now gotten so hyped that it will never live up to the hype. This fight will never live up to the hype, even if we see it one day.
Well, I just said that, didn't I? Didn't I just say that? This fight is not going to live up to the hype, man. This fight.
You say it now, but I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think so. I don't think it's going to live up to the hype. I don't think this fight is going to be what people think it's going to be at the end of the day. We want it just because it's Khabib. We want it just because it's Tony Ferguson, because both of those guys are, man, come on. It's going to be a fight. We know those guys ain't going to be running from each other or anything like that. Right. It's going to be mano-a-mano. And I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, I'm not going to say that anything couldn't happen and Tony Ferguson can't go out there and win that fight. But I just don't think the odds are going to be. What's the odds in that fight anyway?
If he gets Gaethje?
With Tony and Khabib.
Tony and Khabib. What's the odds?
Khabib was the 2-1 favorite. Now, if Ferguson gets Gaethje, Ferguson's not that big of a favorite, -170. So the books don't have him even that favored.
Well, I wouldn't have him that much favored either, because you got to look at it. Justin Gaethje, this guy's he's special.
Yeah,
he's a guy that can get you out of there, boom, like that. You know what I mean? So, as well as, he's had a couple of bumps in the road, and people always want to question Justin Gaethje just because of those couple of bumps in the road, and then boom, he got himself right back on track, and he's a guy who came into the UFC on fire, as well as he's a guy, like I say, who's had a couple of bumps in the road, but still his stock is still way up here. And to go out there for a guy like Justin Gaethje on a couple of weeks' notice, just imagine if he was to go out there and knock Tony Ferguson, boom, off just like that. The landscape would change immediately. So it's a gamble any way you look at it. And me personally, I don't even know who to pick in a Gaethje Ferguson fight.
And just to
I think it's a coin toss.
Just to put a knot on the gamble that Ferguson may or may not be taking a quarter of money, you said that he's a guy that probably hasn't made too much money. As far as UFC total earnings, he sits 55th, 2.1. His last payday of $235 against Cerrone. I looked down the list, man. He only had that one $500,000 payout, and that was since 17. Other than that, it's a bunch of 200s, low 200s.
Wow. Did you say 2.1?
2.1 career earnings, 55th.
Wow. That's what I'm talking about right there. Whoever put that tweet in. I've been playing my fight night boxing game from I guess it's like 18 years ago because I ain't got nothing else to play that I know how to play good. And but that one, I'm a monster, dog. And I swear, man, right now I'm 35, 1-1, right? I'm the champ.
Right.
And I got $2 million in the bank. And I'm about to retire. I'm broke. In other words, I'm broke.
Yeah, in other words, that didn't go the way that you thought it might.
It didn't work out properly. I'm literally down to my last leg, but I'm holding on to the belt by a string, But that's the game, man. How much money you make is almost as much money as you spend. Just like Evander Holyfield, man, made all that money. But at the end of the day, man, they foreclosed on his house, took everything. Sure he had to restructure after being, one of the highest paid boxers that ever lived. Floyd Mayweather, I'm sure, as much money as this brother made, man, I'm sure he's just a paycheck away from something stupid happening. Because when you got all those mansions and all those cars and all those debts and creditors and banks involved, trust me, it's a way to screw it all up. So yeah, definitely.
And he definitely will. We should probably come almost to an end on this stream here, but we got a couple more questions. I do want to say AJRX said that Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao took 5 years to make, and it did not live up to the fight or live up to the hype. It was a dead fight. So that's one of the risks that you run when you wait and the hype builds up. I wanted to ask you a couple things real quick. Going back to wrestling, we do have some questions that I want to get to, but also we were talking about this Last Dance documentary that's coming out about the Chicago Bulls, 98 Chicago Bulls. During their last run, when they're at the top of their game. There was a documentary that came out on WWE Network over the weekend called WWE Untold, and it was with DDP, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and Dennis Rodman. And Dennis was talking about when he came into WCW, he had the match, I think, at the Bash at the Beach or something like that. And then they came back after they beat the Utah Jazz in the finals. They did Rodman and Hogan versus DDP and Karl Malone. At WCW Bash at the Beach, which was a crazy time. You have a picture at the I think at the World Gym Arena with Karl Malone, if I remember correctly, with the mailman. What do you remember about those times back when Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone were in WCW doing the angle? How did you feel about it? How did the boys feel about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I mean, because Dennis Rodman came off kind of crazy in this documentary. I know that's not shocking talking about Dennis Rodman, but you know, he was asking Eric Bischoff for tour buses, and they'd stop at strip clubs and have 12 women on the bus. Phil Jackson was calling Hulk Hogan, asking him where Dennis was because he couldn't find Dennis. I mean, it was crazy. What do you remember about that time?
A lot of cocaine. That's what I remember. a lot of drugs. I'm sure there's a lot of strippers, you know, a lot of late nights, a lot of partying, man. Oh, I'm not going to put Karl Malone in that group because Karl was pretty much straight laced. Karl wasn't about doing a whole lot of drugs or anything like that. At least I don't think. He was a country guy. Karl Malone's got country, but Dennis Rodman, man, I never ran in that circle or anything. I must say that. But Hogan and Bischoff. You know, I'm sure, man. I'm sure it was a lot of partying going on. That's what, you know, Eric Bischoff kind of changed a whole lot and, you know, start wearing the beard and the jeans and, you know, business. I don't know who was doing the paperwork and making business dealings and signing guys because at that time, man, it was a lot. You look at Dennis Rodman's story. And I tell you, man, it's true, man. I mean, those guys were living it up and they were partying big time. I wasn't privy to any of those parties, I must say, but I do know there was a whole lot of partying going on.
But what did y'all think about it backstage? Did you care that these celebrities were coming in and doing all this, or did you say, hey, this is great? That means more eyes on the pay-per-view, more eyes on me. Maybe Booker T gets a nice payday out of it.
It was a rub, you know what I mean? It didn't bother me one bit. As far as guys like Karl coming in, guys like Dennis coming in, they had their own wing, man. They were doing their own thing. I knew it was going to bring eyes to the company. I knew, my check was going to be right. Those times didn't bother me at all. And I honestly can say I wasn't one of those guys in the locker room harboring any ill will towards Dennis Rodman being there. I heard they paid Dennis Rodman a boatload of money to come in and have all that fun. I wish I was Dennis Rodman at that time. So I'm not going to hate on, guys that coming in and getting their paper, but I did see kind of like the writing on the wall. I did see at that time, like I say, I'm a businessman. I try to make sure I stay structured. I try to make sure I don't lose focus. Even with what I'm doing right now, I'm trying not to lose focus at this stage of my life because, man, one wrong turn, man, everything can literally go haywire. And at that point in time, I was conscious of the company, but I wasn't too far off into the business dealings to where I cared because I always looked at myself as talent. I'm talent. Okay, if this company folds today, I'm still able to go and make money. If I got to go to Japan, if I got to go to Germany, if I got to go to WWF, no matter what, I knew I was talent. And it didn't too much worry me. And they were paying me a whole lot of money not to be worried back then as well. So it was a good ride, man. It was fun.
All right, let's go to a couple quick questions here to close this out. This comes from legendary Elock. Says, curious, who is Booker's favorite athlete to watch? Any sport? Who's a must-watch athlete? And Jerry, I want you to answer this too, and I'll answer as well. So, Book, who's your favorite athlete to watch? I'm assuming this is past, present, or future. I know if it's past, I know who you probably say, but who you got?
Even if it's past, present, it could be future. I'm a Muhammad Ali nut, and if any chance I get a chance to go back and watch the career of Muhammad Ali coming up, and there again, he's one of those guys who were champion in the ring, champion out of the ring. He was a guy who was not well liked at one point. He was a guy who was revered. He's a guy who had to literally put in a whole lot of work to become the man that he became. And he did that on his loyals and everything that he believed in. And then when I go back and watch Muhammad Ali fight, he's a guy who made all the money. He's a guy who was the heavyweight champion of the world. He was prettier than every man who he fought, and he was tougher than every man that he got in the ring with. That's why I love Muhammad Ali so much, because not only was he a good-looking man, but he was tougher than every one of them suckers that he got in the ring with, man. He doesn't get enough credit for how tough he was. Go back and relive, the legacy of Muhammad
Ali. Jerry Bow, who you got? Who's your favorite athlete to watch of all time?
Sticking to the art of pugilism, as Booker says, I got to go with Mike Tyson, man.
Mike.
During my childhood, I remember just the buildup that Saturday morning when my dad would rent the fight. He would have the big black pay-per-view box, sometimes bootleg, and he would hook it up. And before you knew it, man, people would show up, and it was not a matter of if, but when the next guy was going to hit that mat, and you would just be waiting. First round, boom, he hit the ground. My mom would always look at my dad like, I told you not to rent this fight. Why'd you spend $70? And that was my childhood, but you knew it was about to be quick, but it was going to be electric.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Mike was a good one too. Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Brett?
For me, it comes down to the athlete. For me, the athlete, is obviously it's got to be James Harden. No, I'm kidding. It's my favorite athlete of all time to watch is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. To watch Michael Jordan, the way he would play ball, the way he'd glide through the air, the way he'd taunt the other players, and all the things that he did in and out of it. And I even liked this man was a businessman. He knew what he was going out there to do. Not only was he an athlete, he was a businessman. I mean, he'll always be remembered for saying Republicans buy sneakers too. And that was kind of the way that he carried himself as a businessman. It's like, hey, everybody's money's green, and I'm going to make sure that I do whatever I can to provide for my family, no matter what it takes. And then as far as basketball, I think he's the greatest of all time. So that's my one. Book, let's go to this next one. This is from Real Jim Kays. Wants to know, Booker, do you think Enzo got a raw deal, and do you think he and Kaz will ever return? Stay safe. Do you think we'll see Enzo and Kaz back in WWE?
No, I don't think I see him. We'll see him back in WWE. Did Enzo get a raw deal? Yeah, Enzo got a raw deal as far as being, put on blast as far as being involved in assault, sexual assault, or something like that. That was proven to not be true. And then all of that stuff, got to the company, and then boom, the guy's out of a job. A little small thing, anything can happen today, man. If you get out there, man, you can be put on blast, and you can be looking for a job. But one thing about Enzo kind of like buried himself in a lot of ways. Also, we were just talking about a little earlier as far as you can be great at what you do, and if people don't like you ain't gonna be around very long. But you can be great at what you do. I mean, you can be good at what you do, and people like you. You stick around forever. And that's what Enzo's problem was more than anything. People didn't like him, and when people don't like you, trust me, you're not gonna be around very long. I said this about Brock Lesnar when he went and tried out for the Minnesota Vikings. I said, Brock Lesnar, if anyone could go out there and make that squad, if any guy who just literally jumped up off his sofa can go and make that squad and make it in the NFL, it's going to be Brock Lesnar. But I say those guys that's on the team that's been playing since Pop Warner, that's literally working for food on the table and can get cut at a moment's notice, they're going to do their best to chop his legs out from under him and make sure he do not make it on GP alone. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what life's about.
All right, let's move on. We only got a couple more. This is from Colin. Colin wants to know, do you guys think they should bring back Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania? Having that match at WrestleMania was always a highlight for me. Book, you competed in a Money in the Bank ladder match, I believe in WrestleMania 23, I think. Yeah, I think it was WrestleMania 23. I believe so. But as King Booker. But what do you think? Do you think that they should? Do you like it as its own pay-per-view? Or do you think they should have it back at WrestleMania? It always did feel special at WrestleMania.
You know what? A lot of matches were made at WrestleMania that became their own pay-per-views.
Right.
And this is just one of them. Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, it definitely will give that feel at WrestleMania, but it gives a certain feel as well as, the Money in the Bank, winner can cash in at WrestleMania, so that for me, I like the intrigue of being able to, at a moment's notice, you be able to win it at WrestleMania. Winning it doesn't have the quite the same appeal to me as winning it at that pay-per-view and then going on to perhaps cash it in at WrestleMania. Oh man, that's beautiful booking right there for me.
All right, let's see. This might be the last one. I'll see if we got any other oones. This is from Legendary. Elock again wants to know, what is one dream match that we never got? We thought we were going to see Sting versus Undertaker, but ... Never saw Sting and Taker. Is there a dream match? And Jared, we can go this to you as well, but is there a dream match book that we never saw that you would have loved to see?
No, not really. I let the fans pick their dream matches. For me, there's no matches out there that I haven't seen that I really, really, really want to see. No, it's not really. Like I said, me and Shawn Michaels, that's the only match that dream match. I think people could really feel like they missed out on something that they didn't get. People never got a chance to see Booker T and Shawn Michaels in the ring. And, I don't know if people know it or not, but I was pretty good. I was pretty good, and to not have gotten a chance to mix it up with Shawn Michaels, to actually be able to go out and see exactly how good I really was, because I always put Shawn Michaels on the top shelf. And I always wanted to be on the top shelf as well. I always felt like I could work with anybody on the top shelf. And to have not gotten a chance to see that, it's not anywhere in any archive, any footage that you can see Booker T and Shawn Michaels going one-on-one to prove who the best really was, So you missed out on something there.
Yeah. Well, do you have one, Jerry, that comes to mind? I know that you were a wrestling fan back in the day.
Exactly. So I'll go with some old school. How about a Sting and Ultimate Warrior?
We never got a chance to see that.
We didn't see them one-on-one. That is a good one, because they used to tag together, and I think they tagged together in WCW for a match or something.
Yeah, they tagged back here in Houston. The Blade Runners was their tag team name. Sting and Rock, Yeah, that's when I first saw him, man. I was like, man, they were green as grass back then too, man. But to see what they became was definitely awesome. And they both went their own path, took their own, route to success. And much props for that right there.
A lot of my dream matches, I mean, other than Undertaker and Sting and stuff like that, like the big name guys, I would have loved to see Booker T versus Shawn Michaels. I would have loved to see the Rock versus Shawn Michaels. The Rock versus Shawn Michaels. I'd like to see Eddie Guerrero versus Owen Hart. Those are like a lot of those matches that like you would have been like, man, what if these two guys would have locked up? Like Owen Hart and Booker T would have been another great one. Stuff like that. Some of those good technical wrestlers, seeing what they could go out there and do. Could they shock and amaze? Would they have good chemistry in the ring? Because you probably know, Book, sometimes is there are those dream matches out there, but the chemistry isn't there for some guys. Like you might say, oh man, I'd love to see blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then when they get together, it's like, that really wasn't that great.
Yeah, I mean, some dream matches, they should just stay dreams.
Right. Well, I think we can end it on this one right here. Eddie Eds wants to know, ask Booker T, if he has a match, who would he choose, The Undertaker or John Cena? If you had a comeback book for one more match and you could either get John Cena or The Undertaker, who you going with?
Oh, man, that's a hard choice, man. It's a really hard choice. But if I had to take one, man, it would be John Cena. The Undertaker, definitely legendary as far as what he's brought to the business. Him and I, we've had some really, really good matches. John Cena and I, we've had some good chemistry in the ring as well, man. I mean, and John is one of those guys who, you look at him, just from the outside and say, oh, man, this guy, he's all right. But John has literally become one of the best in-ring, technicians from a showmanship standpoint. They really don't get too much better than John. And I'm not just blowing smoke or anything like that because I like the guy. I'm saying that because this guy worked so hard to be the number one guy in this business, even when the fans, perhaps didn't want him to be that number one guy. He say, no, I'm going to make you want me no matter what. And then when I see all of those kids in those arenas, man, with, the John Cena headband on, the John Cena wristband that can't see me, all that stuff that he stole from me. Yeah. It gives me a certain kind of feeling. But him and I, we had great chemistry in the ring. And John, he wasn't the ultimate wrestler or anything. He wasn't the ultimate, precision tactician or anything like that. But for him and I, we went out there and performed at a very high level. And if I had a chance to do it one more time, I'd love to do it.
Man, that would be a good one. Just a couple more things. Charles Ellison says, pretty good, Booker. You were one of the best.
Pretty good.
Gmo says, true, Booker T versus Owen Hart would have been dope. And he also said his dream match would have been Trish Stratus versus Sasha Banks. That's a good one, too. That's a real good one. Yeah. And then lastly, AJRX said, yeah, Booker could have Shawn Michaels to avenge him. Sweet chin music, super kicking you out of the NW.
It should have happened. It should have happened. I always say, man, he's the fish they call Wonder. The Wonder got away.
Well, send us home, Buck.
Hey, man, we want to thank y'all, man, for, hanging out with us, man. This is the Hall of Fame, man. Like I said, we down right now, but we about to be back up in a minute. I got to thank my man, Jerry. I got to thank my man, Brad Gilmore. They call him the boat. Hey, guys, as always, we appreciate you, and we love you, and we out.